Welcome to Who Are You? The Bobcats you know, the stories you don't. I'm your host, Joel Vanner, inside the podcast studio at Quinnipiac University's School of Communications, and I am joined today by my guest, Carrie Bulger. Carrie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Joel. Thanks for having me.
So, Carrie, we know your name, but tell me, who are you?
Thanks. I am a professor of psychology. I am an industrial organizational psychologist, and I teach lots of different psych classes. I study work stress and well-being, especially how we create boundaries around our work and our home lives. And I've been at Quinnipiac for a long time.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Industrial organizational psychology, IO Psych, right? For short. But let's just start with the field of psychology. How did Carrie learn that was a field that she wanted to go into?
Yeah, man, it feels like I knew I was going to be a psychologist for a really long time. I definitely remember in high school, people would come to me for advice. My friends always wanted to talk to me. And I just figured that was where I would end up, psychology.
Did you post up in like a classroom, say, come by this room at this time, Carrie's here?
In the peanuts? No, I did not do that. No, it just felt like a natural thing for me. And I really assumed that I would be a clinical psychologist and become a therapist. But then I found IO psychology. My dad was a journalist, and he went on a business trip, which was really unusual for him. But he came back from that trip, and he handed me this in-flight magazine that had a cover story about a guy who studied personality at work. And Dad said, well, this is pretty cool. You should check this out. And so I read it, and I was like, that is pretty cool. So that's how I discovered IO Psych.
So discovered IO Psych through the magazine that your dad brought home from the airplane.
Yep.
Studied that in school. And where did that take you?
Sort of. So I majored in psychology and I did a minor in business because a lot of universities don't have IO Psych. Quinnipiac's pretty unique in that regard. We have multiple IO psychologists and multiple IO Psych classes, but I didn't have that as an undergrad. So I did psychology major as much as I could. I learned about business, and then I moved to Connecticut to get my PhD in IO Psych.
And what drew you to Quinnipiac? So you were in Connecticut for your PhD program and looking for something special in your next adventure?
Yeah. So as a doctoral student, again, I made some assumptions. I thought I was going to go and be a consultant and kind of change the world of work out in the quote-unquote real world.
That you were learning so much about.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
I wanted to, and I still do that. I still do want to make work better for people. That's kind of that's the goal of every IO psychologist. But as a grad student, I fell in love with teaching and doing research. And the Quinnipiac job came up in the spring of 2000, and I applied and got asked to come interview. And the psychology department was full of these really charming, interesting people who loved their students. And that was really clear. And the other cool thing about that interview was they actually involved students in it, including someone who wanted to get her degree in IO psychology.
Yeah, and connection
it was right there. Yeah. So before I even left that day, I told the chair of the search committee that I wanted the job.
So as an IO psychologist, I'm a huge fan of TED Talks. And you can get lost in TED Talks talking about positivity, trust, the workplace.
Right.
But I want to hear from you. What are some of the challenges of work that we see today?
Well, you named some of them. I think a big issue right now in workplaces is mental health and well-being. You know, we talk about that a lot at Quinnipiac, too. We care about that for our students, faculty, and staff. And we're not alone. Every workplace is into that right now. So the good news is that IO psychologists know that a lot of things can change to positively impact well-being. And that doesn't involve therapy. I am not a workplace therapist. But if we, for example, can make leaders more effective at their job, well, that trickles into their employees, right? It makes their employees better at their job, too.
How are you in the classroom for your students today? How are you modeling that for your students? Do you have an activity that you do or something that you reference to just kind of set that tone for them that this is what the experience in my class is going to be like?
Yeah, from day one, we start talking to each other. When I teach the IO Psych class, I ask them, well, first I start by telling them about all the jobs I've had from high school till now. And then I asked them the same. What are the jobs that they've had? And I always ask them to tell me the job they like the most and the job they like the least.
I'm sure you get a lot of laughs when you start talking about the jobs they like the least.
Yeah. Some people, it's funny. Some people say, I've liked every job I've had, but they haven't had that many jobs yet. Give them time.
Right.
Yeah.
So you ask students about their favorite and least favorite jobs. Tell me what your favorite and least favorite jobs were. Well,
I mean, obviously I've been here a long time, so this is my favorite job. But before this job, right. You didn't pay me to say that. Before this job, surprisingly, one of my favorite jobs was working at Wendy's, and I did that through college. And you would think, I mean, don't get me wrong, I went home smelling like French fry oil and chopping onions. That was not pleasant. But I loved it, interacting with my coworkers. I worked the drive-through, so I got to, type in all the orders and wear the headset. That was kind of fun.
Many hats you were trying to manage right there.
Exactly. But what really, I think, now that I'm an IO psychologist and have thought about that job, the reason I liked it so much was because of my manager. He was supportive. He made us trust him. He helped us out when we needed it. And he was just a really good boss of a bunch of teenagers. He did a really nice job.
That can't be that easy.
Right. I mean, I'm sure he was trained like every other Wendy's manager was trained, but he also had something special about him that made us enjoy working for him.
I haven't had too many jobs yet. Still young in my career. One of my favorite jobs, I worked for ESPN and the Walt Disney Company for a number of years. And I liked that job for a variety of reasons. I had a couple different hats that I wore, kind of similar to you and your Wendy's experience. But I liked seeing the impact of the work that I was having, being able to see the difference I was making. You turn on ESPN, there it is. You go to the app, there it is, right? And there's just something about being able to see that immediate impact in the workplace that gives you that satisfaction that I'm in the right place, I'm doing the right thing, right?
Yep. Yeah. And if you described that to me in class, I would tell you that is 100% one thing that makes people like their jobs, is that they can see that the significance of their work. From, our future PT students who are going to go out and help people, be able to move their bodies better, to our future psychology majors who are going to go out and do a variety of things in the world where they're going to use what they know to make people's lives better.
On the topic of jobs, the psychology curriculum is interesting in that it has some moments in there where students can take stock of their values and their interests to inform the rest of their studies, right?
Yeah, it's really exciting. We have a curriculum that is really aimed at future thinking. We want our students to learn as much as they can about all the different kinds of psychology, but we also want them to think about, okay, so how am I getting ready for my career, whatever that might be? A bunch of our students are going to go become psychologists. I mean, that's pretty normal. But what's true of psychology majors is that the vast majority don't become psychologists. That's probably a surprise to a lot of folks, right? Yeah. But the good thing about that major, what we think is really great, is that they're getting skills in communication, critical thinking, that are translatable to any job. And so, we have this really cool class where we walk students week by week through some self-assessment where they figure out what is it that they value? What is it that floats their boat? What are they interested in? And how does that translate to career options? So it's not like, do you like working with wood? Maybe you should be a woodworker. But it's, what are the things about working with wood that can translate to other careers?
And how do you work well with the other teams that you'll interface with in the workplace?
Right.
I'm pretty plugged into the world of AI, as I'm sure you are.
Yes.
And there's just some things that it'll never replace: human empathy, emotion, that human connection. So it's great that for the students, you have that check-in point for them to determine what their interests are in the field of psychology while they're here at Quinnipiac.
Yeah, reading about AI is actually one of the first readings in that class, because we want them to understand exactly what you just said. It won't replace everything. But also they have to understand AI themselves and figure out how to work it in their career.
So for those listeners who they may not have had a corporate workplace setting yet, right? And they're listening to us talk about these things in the workplace that they need to be aware of: mental health, good leadership, et cetera. What would you suggest to them that they do now just to keep aware of those things as they prepare to enter the workforce?
Yeah, great question. I think there are lots of things that our students can do. take a variety of classes so they can get a wide range of skills, get involved on campus. The clubs that you belong to, the organizations that you work with, will give you a wide range of experiences that will translate into work pretty easily. Even if you don't think it does right away, you'll see it as you progress. And keeping track of what's going on in the workplace, I mean, a lot of that gets discussed on traditional media like news and that sort of thing, but you see it on social media too. So start following some folks who talk about work on social media. And
maybe connect with your family members who are out in the workplace, see what their experiences are. And those are also things you learn in an interview process too about the workplace culture and the values that they have there.
Yeah, believe it or not, your family knows about work, right?
Yeah,
They have jobs,
Yes. To those that are in the workplace, lifelong learning and continuing education is a big part of Quinnipiac here, and you're involved in that space. What sort of programs are you involved in there?
It's pretty exciting. I think the lifelong learning department is doing some really great work. I'm really proud to be involved. I focus mostly on the leader development programming, which is pretty wide-ranging. We have programs that help leaders get better at conflict management, that help leaders assess performance, and we really help leaders know themselves because self-awareness is actually the fundamental when it comes to being an effective leader.
Are these continuing education programs for a specific audience, or can anyone enroll in them if they're interested?
Yeah, it's actually both. So there are some programs that are developed for and with specific organizations. So the lifelong learning folks get in touch with talent management at an organization and figure out what's needed in their workforce and develop programming just for them. But we also have a whole suite of programs that are open enrollment, and anyone who's interested in becoming better at their job, especially better at leadership or teamwork, can get involved.
I actually had a really great experience in the Leading with Impact program that the Lifelong Learning Office put on. It was a collection of employees from across Quinnipiac. We touched on a number of things. My favorite, I think, was conflict management and resolution styles and how to communicate through conflict. Because I think conflict kind of comes up, and you would know better than me, comes up in the workplace, but it's not always something people react to immediately.
Sure.
But there are the little signs along the way that something may be there.
Yeah, so I think that's important. I don't teach that part, but I do know about conflict, and one of the things that I think people don't think about is some conflict is okay, and it's actually helpful.
It's a part of life.
Right? And there's different kinds of conflict, so really getting that opportunity that you had to think about it, to explore it, and even maybe play with it a little bit is one of the important parts of that program.
Yeah, it was awesome, and I encourage anyone who's interested to check out the offerings Lifelong Learning has.
Nice.
Thank you, Carrie, for joining me on the show today. It was great to have you, and I appreciate you sharing your insights.
Thank you. It was great to be here. I really enjoyed it.
If you enjoyed today's episode of Who Are You, be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and find other episodes on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube podcasts. Until next time, when I ask my next guest, who are you? I'm Joel Vanner. Bye for now.